Well, welcome back, everyone, to Assuring Autonomy. I'm Brian Wynne, and we're really excited today to welcome Don Wakamatsu, who is a great baseball man. And I'm just so excited because it's spring training. I'm watching baseball. Sorry, Don, I'm a National League guy. Don's the bench coach for the Texas Rangers, and you're coming to us from spring training in Arizona, doing some really really cool stuff with drones, and you've got a farming background as well. And I just don't quite know where to start, other than how in the world did you end up doing the cool stuff that you're doing with drones?
Well, let me give you a little bit of background first. I was born in Hood River, Oregon, to both sets of grandparents that were fruit growers, mostly pears, apples, peaches, those type of things. And then, I went off and started my baseball career, but always had a passion in the farming because I grew up changing sprinklers and driving tractors. And since then, my parents had retired back there in Hood River. And so my grandmother passed away last year, and we had conversation before she passed about turning the farm into a nonprofit educational farm. And it ties into a foundation that I started about 4 years ago. And I started the foundation mainly because I was fortunate to be in the game. This is my 36th year. And, as it's nearing its end, I wanted to leave a bigger footprint. And that was really getting players, young players, especially in this day of age, to give back to their community. They have such a rare opportunity to be a Major League Baseball player and a responsibility to give back. And so we started the foundation to get these younger players involved in their own passion. So we've done several different events in the last 4 years, from animal shelters to giving away backpacks to down coats in St. Louis, to several different events where we gave away about 500,000 pounds of fruits and vegetables.
Now, this
And
is the WakWay Foundation, right?
Yes, this is the WakWay Foundation. People can go to it. It's wakway.org. And most of the stuff that we've done has been on there. And we started an online store. And so the foundation has changed and morphed over the last 4 years into kind of an organic, pardon the pun, an organic mission. And so we're heavily involved in nutrition. We're heavily involved in trying to understand food systems as it relates to food deserts and inner cities, but also where we pivoted probably the most is on education and job creation. We gave away, like I said, 500,000 pounds of fruits and vegetables that we had acquired, over the years, and did some nice events, but we realized that that's not sustainable. With the farm, I think the biggest mission with us is, can we turn it into a place where people can share and kids can grow? And so we started the nonprofit up there, and that's where the kind of drones came in, where we wanted to kind of bridge the gap between old and new, whether it's biodynamic farming, permaculture, regenerative farming, really understanding the soil. And then, fortunate in my position, I'm able to get contacts with Kubota Tractor's been a big sponsor of us. And
Cool.
looking at automation, because we know how small farmers struggle with labor costs. And so we have to be able to cut that. And then what's really fascinating for us, and the direction we've kind of gone, is can we gamify farming for young kids?
Hmm.
We're having some trouble of retaining kids in the farming industry for a couple of different reasons. Is it a vocation that's going to pay the bills? And is it something they love to do? And I think the drones are such a perfect vehicle for that. There's a Valor Farm in Alta Vista, Virginia, that the General Bob Dees just opened last November, and we're in talks with them about doing a drone institute there for soldiers with PTSD. And
Hmm.
so, going back to your original question, I kind of long-winded, but my business partner, Michelle Truman, who runs my foundation, her family has a little background in drones, and she's the one that introduced me to it. And then last year during COVID, during the baseball season, I was sitting in the brand new stadium, and I just read an article about somebody looking to disinfect a stadium. And I'm sitting here in this $1.5 billion stadium going, that would be kind of cool, to have our foundation do that. That didn't necessarily come to fruition, but the timing of spring training out here, we were able to test some different stadiums out here, outdoor stadiums. And fortunately, the city of Surprise was able to allow us to spray their stadium.
Well, that's really fascinating, and it's a great visual seeing. This is a spring training facility that
Yeah,
you're doing the spraying in,
yeah.
and when you do that spraying, how long will that last? I imagine it's a function of how many people come through, but that I'm sure saves a lot of time and a lot of elbow grease, as it were.
Yeah, we looked around at different companies because there's plenty out there now that have started up since COVID, and we were looking at a company called Microsure that did their background is in hospital surgical rooms, and
Hmm.
they have an extensive background with that. But they've also tested um, the product out to 90 days, just depending on the traffic and all that. But we tested at 30, 60, and 90, and so it's a product we think we're pretty proud of, and it's one that even before we used it, the Denver Broncos had used it in their locker rooms.
COVID actually, when we had to keep people apart, unmanned systems actually became, sort of were elevated, no pun intended, but, all of a sudden it was, hey, this can be a really important tool. Now, going back to farming, in an earlier version of the show, we had the opportunity to talk to a gentleman named Aaron Hernick, and he's a corn farmer in Kansas, in just a family farmer, and it was really interesting for him to talk about, is he ever hooked on using drones as a tool for him to get smarter about the health of his crops and things like that. And he also talked about automation on the ground. So it sounds like that was what caught my eye about the foundation, the WakWay Foundation, was you're actually doing something that's relatively new, but you're doing it to reinforce family values and old farm values, as it were.
Well, I think the biggest thing for us, as I said before, when we started the foundation, we looked at different business models, and I love the Paul Newman's Own, the fact that
Mhm.
they had a for-profit um, salad dressing, but the concept of being able to be sustainable and provide for yourself, and that's where we kind of went down this road. Everything that we do with the drones is nonprofit. It all goes back in. It all goes back into the students. And so, if for us to be able to build that curriculum, and we've had a lot of help, we think we put it together tremendous board. It's interesting because when I first, and again, I'm no expert. We just started this, and I'm just hooked. Also, I mean, it's just fascinating what we can do with it. But looking at Midwest farms opposed to looking more on the West Coast for us, whether it's vineyards or small farms up in Hood River, and just trying to put the pieces of the puzzle together. And what I mean by that is, can we utilize different modalities, maybe ground sensor technology, water treatment systems, the drone, data capturing, all these different things, but we still don't know how they all fit together. The advancement, as you know, is just it's going at light speed. And so that's what's exciting for us, to be able to literally have a teaching institute on the farm in Oregon, potentially one in Arizona, and wherever we feel like. We're partnered right now with the University of Arizona. We're bridging the gap between their engineering and their agriculture department and helping them put together a curriculum for their students. For us to be able to, from basically, eventually maybe K through 12 and high school, where they get accreditation, and they actually in college actually there's a place for them to go through some of the partnerships that we created. So we're trying to build this 360 environment where we bring them in, we get them excited. We don't know what it's going to look like in 10 years. I think it's going to be crazy. And that's what's so exciting for us. And then, as you mentioned about the farming side of it, I do think we're partnered with different organic farms. So a lot of ours is going to be research, vineyard research, soil research, water conservation research. And so it's just with the foundation, it's been a blessing for me. It's something I'm really looking forward to after my day job.
Well, that's fascinating. Back up a little bit. I mean, I get the whole STEM attraction here. I mean, drones are just magnets for kids. I mean, that's part of the fun, is watching. I've been to several air shows where, we've had beautiful aircraft flying by, doing, World War II air, warbirds going by in formation, and the kids are hanging, they got their backs to the flight line and they're hanging on the drone cage watching this guy, do something. So that to me is a great way to bring people in to aviation, but I never really thought about it as, hey, this makes farming cooler too. And if you're trying to figure out how do we replace that, that generation that's getting older, that's a huge thing. I also wanted did I understand you to say that you're also using it to help soldiers with PTSD?
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about that. That's fascinating. We have a lot of military folks in our community, of course.
Again, it's a 300-acre farm, and we don't have anything in concrete yet. We just before spring training, I started talking to the general about maybe going out to Alta Vista, and that whole, if they can go online, I think it's Valor Farms is what it's called, and
Okay.
it's a $39 million facility strictly to rehabilitate soldiers with PTSD, and so they're looking at equestrian, and I don't want to speak for them, but it's going to be farming based. And so what better to be able to almost have another research facility out there. And then, as I said, as we get more knowledgeable, and I had, since the article in the New York Times, I've had 2 different companies contacted me about AI. And that's fascinating to me, and again, I don't know of any other nonprofit drone companies out there. I'm sure there is, but I don't know of any. And so the people have been really helpful, and we welcome that with open arms because we're learning. We have so many farms right now. We tested down on a 1,000-acre first-time black farmer down in Tucson, Arizona, on a cotton farm. When you start looking at sprays and the ability to data capture through high spectral cameras and say, you know what, we don't need to spray the whole 1,000 acres. We can target bad areas. We can look at chlorophyll. We can look at, I think eventually, and I know there's some people doing research on it, on being able to gauge the amount of carbon in the soil from a drone. I mean, it's fascinating to me,
Yeah.
and then we talk about autonomy, autonomous flight. And so we're just getting started, and it's really, really cool for us. And matter of fact, our first pilot that we put through and get certified actually sprayed the stadium out here. So she was our first one, and we're looking to promote women in the area of drone technology.
That's great. And I noticed on the website that all of your drone flyers are Part 107 certificated. So, they're doing it right. We've actually, I'm a Nats fan, and we've had discussions with folks over at the stadium about, can we use the drone to bring in a ball, drop a ball, or, for the first pitch and stuff like that. And I think we're still at the stage where, yeah, we'll do the drone work when there's nobody in the stadium except,
Yeah.
folks that know what's going on. But we're really in that stage now, and I think it's fun for me as a sports fan, as a baseball fan, to talk to you, connect those dots between, a discussion I had just last week with a farmer in Kansas, and you come from that background as well, and that family history. But here we are using the technology that essentially is going to make farming better, and it's going to help us get people safely back into stadiums, where we can gather and have some fun together. And that's really great. But I also want to commend you for the vision that you've brought to all of this, and it's really inspiring, Don. I thank you very much
I appreciate it. We've had a lot of help, and I think sometimes we're limited by our imagination, and the drone industry. It's just, you mentioned the stadiums, and after we sprayed the stadium out here, I know they check the lights with drones.
Yeah.
And then inside our stadium, I know historically they've had to walk the field with a meter to be able to see if we have consistent lighting throughout the whole playing surface. Now, they're able to do that with drones. And so it's just, it's fascinating. And for us to be able to get college students and high school students that are really excited and motivated, and we can push them towards that. I think it's only the sky's the limit. They say if you're not dreaming big enough, so
I'm starting to wonder when we're going to work our way into baseball analytics.
yeah, we'll have an outfielder with a drone out there catching balls before long.
Well, Don, thank you very much for your time. Best of luck to you and your team this year, and stay safe out there. And I wish you all luck in the world with the terrific things that you're doing.
Well, likewise, I love what you guys are doing, and I appreciate you taking the time to have us on.
My great pleasure as well.
All right, Brian.
Thank you, sir. Bye-bye.
Yeah.